friends, I feel completely elated and very honored to be here on this special occasion, at least for me, to witness an exhibition which has been very meticulously prepared and very beautifully displayed, which I wouldn't have missed for anything else. But I also am always aware, sitting in northern part of India, about which Narayan Sahib has talked a little bit, that given a chance, from Kashmir, where there are places, for centuries it is written that Gar Firdaus Baru Zameen Ast Hameen Asto Hameen Asto Hameen Ast, which means if heavens is anywhere on this planet Earth, then it's here, it's here, it's here. I would take out those plaques from Kashmir now and place them probably in parts of Kerala. Why do I consider Kerala a heavens in India? The reason is very simple. Not just because it has shown very good parameters on human index, on health index, on literacy index, etc., etc. But the kind of discourse that goes on in Kerala among ordinary people is historically rooted in highly intellectual debate that has gone on for a very long time. I am aware of the fact that this kind of discourse is only possible in northern part of India in a very small circle. And therefore, on the trajectory of evolution, I find Kerala at a much higher level. And therefore, I never ever miss a chance to come to Kerala and meet friends. And I go back always intellectually enriched myself. Coming to the topic of the today, which is a difficult topic because I am not an expert on Gandhi. Maybe some of you are more eligible to talk about Gandhi than I am. I am like an ordinary person who is born in independent India and has grown on the stories of freedom movement, which have continuously inspired my generation. And therefore, Gandhi was a part of our upbringing, and his name kept on occurring repeatedly during my journey of life. And I'm sure most of us sitting here have experienced that. So there are obviously some questions about Gandhi that arise in your mind over a period of time. You hear arguments right on one scale, one end of the scale, that Gandhi was like God, to Gandhi was devil. And within this two limits, Gandhi has been shaded by various people at various levels. from love to hate and hate to love. And therefore, it's important to keep on discussing Gandhi. But let me go back to in history a little bit and look at what was happening in 19th century. How did India look in 19th century? For generations and for thousands of years, we had a completely divided society. There were fissures, there were fault lines, north, south, language, religion, caste, food, pick up anything, attire. So the concept of one nation was not there. I'm ready to accept that we belong to those who lived in this area for thousands of years, belong to a civilization. But the idea of nation state itself is not more than 300 years old as far as humanity is concerned, though humanity tried democratic structures long back. But idea of a nation was not there. That is what I believe. Historians are divided on that question. When did this idea come about? In my opinion, the major turning point was the rebellion of 1857. 1857 was the biggest revolt humanity had ever seen till then. People revolted against the British Empire, and British Empire, which was the strongest force at that time. And it was crushed. And it was crushed extremely brutally. The violence unleashed against what British called natives was unparalleled. On the one hand, the revolt was unparalleled. The brutal attack or lashback was equally unparalleled. And ultimately, a large number of Britishers had to say that now it is unholy. And they have recorded all that. It is unholy, stop it. I don't want to go into details, there is no time for that. But let me just point out that in Delhi, there was no tree left where corpses were not hung. The bullets, they ran short of bullets, so they started tying people with the cannons and blowing 5-6 people together. I'm sure you have read all those things, but ultimately it stopped. After that, British learned certain lessons. One of the lessons was that one has to keep the divided India and enlarge and amplify the divisions between people. If Hindus, Muslims, upper caste, lower caste all join together, then they can become a very big threat. they increased the number of white men, which was very small in 1857. After the revolt, they increased the number. They also started telling Indians that you are uncivilized and it is white man's burden to civilize. And if you do not accept our proposal that we are here to civilize you, then what we have done during 1857, we'll do it again. So we can be as brutal as that. Now this propaganda went on and became part of the curriculum as well. But Indians also learnt a lesson. And the big lesson was that the enemy that we are fighting is too strong, too tall. We cannot win the battle through violence. So in the initial stages, when the political leadership emerged and got together and pondered upon, they started pleading with the British government that please have mercy on us. This was the initial reaction. And they collected data, how much wealth you are taking away, what kind of taxes you are imposing on us, etc., etc. By 1920s, etc., when Gandhi was still in South Africa and was experimenting with passive resistance, which initially he called passive resistance, some of the leadership knew about this person, that he has taken bull by the horn in Africa. And Gandhi comes to India. This is the period, once again, let's remember that communalism and communal divide is at its peak. Before 87, British tried their level best, and it is again recorded by them only, that they allocated funds to instigate Hindu-Muslim riots in certain areas of UP, and they couldn't spend the money, the riots couldn't happen. But by this time, there were riots happening in the country, and Gandhi enters. Gandhi goes around the country before he picks up any major project. In my opinion, Gandhi is the first person to realize that a new identity which cuts across caste, religion, region, language, etc., etc., needs to be built. Now, this identity has to be an identity which is highly inclusive. Because all other identities were divisive identities, and British could use to strengthen their oppression in the country which they were ruling. So this notion of nation state and Indian identity had to be negotiated. It had to cut across all kinds of other identities. And therefore, Gandhi also realizes that violence is not the way to independence. We can't win. We just can't win because British Empire is too powerful. And because the British Empire is too powerful, therefore, in freedom movement, on the one hand, we have to have non-violent resistance. This is lesson number 1. And lesson number 2 is when the other is gigantic and it is repeatedly saying that sun doesn't set in our empire and we control the globe, then any pygmy identity, any small identity cannot fight back this giant identity which is the other. So everybody has to be included in this new identity, and over a period of time, this identity is built, which is Indian identity. Now, problem is that what should be the elements of this identity? Gandhi probably is one person along with others who also realizes that the elements of this identity have to be secular. This is a deeply religious person. He is a Hindu. He believes in God. He practices all kinds of Hindu rituals. And yet, he realizes that the Indian identity has to be secular. It has to be based on certain principles. Gender equality is one. All human beings are equal is two. Despite compromises, he is the first person to raise, probably at national level, question of untouchability. And I think that he was out and out a politician. And therefore, during the debate on the Bihar earthquake, when he is told that you are utterly nonsensical when you say that it has happened because of untouchability and God has punished us. We know how earthquake takes place. It is a natural phenomena, etc., etc. And that debate we are aware of, probably all of us. Gandhi doesn't concede. And I'm sure that Gandhi knew that he is talking something which is not scientific. But it was very important for him to hit at untouchability and use even an unscientific argument to drive the message home. So Gandhi wants the last person also to participate in this movement. And therefore, he does not compromise on certain things. As far as elements of this identity are concerned, a deeply religious person also talks about scientific temper. He is in touch with best of the scientists. When he thinks about research on charkha, which has become now symbol all over the country of protest, then he asks people like J.C. Bose and P.C. Ray, and he is in touch with all kinds of people, the best of the mind. And so is the gamut of leadership of those days. Now it's amazing that these are outright politicians. They are trying to fight British imperialism. But they are as critical of evils of Indian society as they could be. So the battle is twofold for them, which is also unprecedented. The battle is not only against the British imperialism. They realize that they cannot, excuse me, a battle unless it is unitedly fight by all Indian people. And for that, they are ready to take ideas from best of the minds, not from only within India, but from across the world. All of them are voracious readers and writers. They are intellectuals who are keeping in touch with the latest ideas that are being developed in almost every field of human endeavor. So let's rephrase it. The entire leadership of that period is being groomed in an environment where they are being fed new, latest, modern ideas from best of the minds. Be it literature, be it music, film, science, economics, pick up any of the areas. They are in touch, and it is a personal touch almost. In fact, I was amazed when I read about a Urdu poet called Josh Malihabadi. He's a very famous Urdu poet, and he was very close to Congress at that time, and most of the Congress party meetings started with his poetry recitation in northern part of India, and he was close to Gandhi. Once he went to meet Gandhi, and he was very agitated on certain things. And he writes that he kept on venting out his anger against Bapu, that why don't you do this, why don't you do that, why is Congress party not doing this or that, etc., etc. He kept on venting out for half an hour. And Gandhi did not speak a word. Listen to him. And then, when he stops, Gandhi asks him, and tell me, Josh, have you written some new poem? जोश तुमने कुछ नया लिखा? Gandhi doesn't tell him, get out. You are a poet. Let me do the politics and you confine yourself only to poetry. No. That was not the attitude. When they met scientists, they discussed with them what is happening in science. And this was the environment in which the entire leadership was groomed, including Gandhi. Gandhi was against violence, but he also says that if I have to choose between cowardice and violence, then I'll choose violence. Because he is a politician, remember, and his aim is to unite all sections of society. Compromises here and there are part of politics. When we assess a politician, then normally, and it's very easy to do a biased study. And Gandhi has written so much that somebody calculated he was on an average writing 1500 words every day. And he was traveling extensively, he was speaking, he was going into demonstrations, etc., etc. And within that, 1500 words a day would mean that there were days when he did not write, and there were days when he must have written extensively throughout the day. So Gandhi has left a plethora of his experience in written words with us. And I have the honor of going and touching the first printing machine which Gandhi had installed in his house in Phoenix in South Africa. And it was a spiritual experience for me visiting that place. There were 4 mango trees which he had planted, he had taken from here, and I brought 4 leaves from there as a souvenir. But coming back to Gandhi, it is not imaginable, and there is no parallel in the world when you devote your life to free a country and you are at the helm of you are the top leader, and then that country is freed. 1947, then you decide not to participate in what is going to happen to the new government. There's no parallel in the world. Instead of that, he says, I'm not required here, I'm required somewhere else. Some other people can take charge of how to form government, whom to include and whom to exclude. This is Gandhi. On the one hand, people are celebrating independence, and on the other hand, this entire northern India is burning. People are getting killed. The hatred is at its peak. Gandhi decides not to be part of the celebration deliberately, but to go and quench the flames that are burning the entire northern India. Southern part is also not untouched, by the way. When I imagine myself in his shoes, then I think I wouldn't have been able to gather courage to go to Noakhali. The exhibition depicts it very beautifully. And I'm extremely thankful to my friends who have put this exhibition together. This is Gandhi at his best, in fact. This is Gandhi who is telling the world how to be a human being, how to be an evolved human being. This is Gandhi who is not only non-violent, but is ready to jump into fire to quench it. He also could have been part of the celebration sitting in Delhi. No one would have raised a finger against him. But he knew that he is passing on a lesson not only to the entire world and his generation, but generations to come. He knew that he has to inspire this newly independent India. And in this newly independent India, when he comes back to Delhi, let me tell you another incident what happened in Delhi. Some women from old Delhi approached him that, Babu, it has become very difficult for us to live in Delhi, and we are thinking of migrating unless and until you come to old Delhi and save us. This message comes to Gandhi. Gandhi says that I cannot come. Please come over, some of you, and meet me, and we'll decide what action is to be taken. 30-40 women go there to his ashram. In a room they are sitting, and Gandhi enters the room. He's silent, sits there, and starts crying. One of the women gathers courage to ask him, Bapu, why are you crying? So he says that you do not consider me Mehram, Mehram in Islam means a person before you do not have to wear burqa. He's part of your family, your brother, sister, your father, your uncle. So all of them give up burqa, and then they have a discussion, and then he goes to Old Delhi. This is what Gandhi is. Gandhi, through very, very minute, innocuous actions, makes the change. There are n number of examples, and I'm sure you know more than I do about Gandhi's examples. But when Gandhi, Nehru, Azad and Patel and Communist Party members, and I must remind you that the communist movement was extremely strong and it had a great impact on how India should look like after 1947. They have contributed greatly to the ideas which shaped ultimately our constitution. So one should not undermine the contribution of leftist movement in the country and leftist intellectuals in the country. Internationally, USSR also had a great impact on Indian freedom movement, etc., etc. But that is maybe sometime else one can talk about it. But this is an India where everybody was trying to build a gigantic self, which is what we call Indian identity or Indian dream. Now, when this identity is being constructed, what happens to other identities? They also kept on asserting. The Hindu identity kept on asserting. The Muslim identity kept on asserting itself. The lower caste, upper caste division also did not wither away. It did not. These identities, which I call as pygmy identities, caused division of India. And Pakistan was built on this pygmy identity and couldn't hold for long, and therefore got divided. Because it was a pygmy identity and it couldn't sustain itself. It was not built on equality of gender, equality of human beings, equality of one boat. Education for all, job for all. These were the dreams. These were part and parcel of the Indian identity. In India, the biggest mistake that Hindu fundamentalism made was to think that they can kill Gandhi. The 3 bullets that were pumped into that frail body, they thought could kill him. Instead, what happened? Gandhi was resurrected. And in my opinion, if anybody was resurrected on planet Earth, It was Gandhi. And it is recorded history. RSS made that mistake. Hindu Mahasabha RSS put together made that mistake. And what happened to them? The Indian public rose to the occasion. And remember that before that, communalism is at its peak. The country is completely bruised. The country is weak. The country has been completely pauperized. But people rise unitedly against RSS. And for next 40, 50 years, RSS could not gather courage to work openly in the country. Gandhi was resurrected. Gandhi becomes a huge image all across the world. There were two reasons. One was that he proved that once you are elevated as a big, non-violent human beings, then you are not hungry for power. And the second reason was that he was killed by the fascist forces. So instead of killing Gandhi, they resurrected him. Maybe he would have died after 5 years, 10 years. He was frail and he was old. And we know that life sciences were not very advanced at that point of time. But this is the biggest gift that he gave by dying or giving up the body was that he secured a secular India for a very long time. Gandhi refuses to die even today. That doesn't mean that those 3 bullets have stopped chasing him. They are still chasing him. And this process continues even today. At every stage, Gandhi has won up till now. It is our duty and duty of next generation that we stop this process, stop the fascist consciousness in the country. And I'm very, very clear that unless and until we fight the fascist consciousness, we cannot fight the fascist on ground. And if we let them win, so only then Gandhi will die. It is our duty. Gandhi has done his job. Gandhi has done his duty to generations to come. It is now our duty to keep him alive. Thank you.